How do you win a football game and still lose the city that bleeds your colors? That's the riddle Cleveland woke up to after a weekend that felt less like relief and more like a warning flare. The scoreboard offered numbers, but the story belonged to the sidelines, where a rookie with a headline last name stood, helmet in hand, watching a season beg for a spark he wasn't allowed to strike. This is the tension gripping the Browns right now. A veteran trusted to steady the ship, a mid-round rookie groomed as the next man up, and Shedeur Sanders, part prospect, part phenomenon, treated like a luxury item locked behind glass. Fans didn't just notice, they erupted. Talk shows turned the volume to max. Social feeds read like open letters. Everyone agrees on one thing. Whatever this is, it isn't sustainable. Here's the truth no press conference can soften. Football is results, but it's also belief. And when a city looks at its most electric player and sees him stapled to the bench, belief starts to leak out of the building. Was this smart patience or fear dressed up as prudence? Are the Browns protecting a future or postponing it until the moment's gone? We're going to unpack the depth chart reality, the optics that won't go away, and the risk calculus behind keeping the spotlight off a neon name. Then we'll follow the fan backlash as it hardens from noise into movement. By the end, only one question will matter. Is safe still a strategy, or just the most expensive way to waste momentum? Because in Cleveland, hope has a timer. It's ticking. One drive, one series, one throw could change everything or confirm the worst fear. This window is closing. Every debate about Cleveland's quarterback chaos has to start with the simplest, most stubborn fact. The depth chart doesn't lie. At the top sits Joe Flacco, the 40-year-old veteran who was re-signed on a one-year deal to be the adult in the room. He's steady, he's experienced, and he's familiar enough with the system to run the offense without panic. Right behind him is Dillon Gabriel, the rookie taken in the third round. Draft capital that signals investment, that unspoken truth in the NFL that where you're picked often decides how many chances you get. Then, and only then, comes Shedeur Sanders, slotted at QB3, despite the media glare that makes him the most recognizable name of the group. On paper, the logic makes sense. Flacco provides the short-term bridge. Gabriel is the development project with institutional backing. Sanders? He's the wild card, drafted later, technically the extra prospect in a room already stuffed with arms. But that tidy explanation doesn't satisfy a fan base that watched Sanders rip defenses apart at Colorado and expected at least a glimpse of that magic on Sundays. Instead, he's become the most high-profile bench ornament in the league, helmet on, ready to go, but never called. The front office and coaching staff will tell you this is about process, about easing a rookie into the NFL's speed, about not exposing him too soon. To many fans, it looks like fear disguised as patience. They see Gabriel getting more reps not because he's better, but because he was drafted higher. They see Flacco struggling, yet still trusted, simply because of his age and resume. And they see Sanders, the most intriguing piece of the puzzle, sidelined by a system that values order over upside. But if the chart is neat on paper, the optics are messy everywhere else. Here's where the real storm brews: the optics. The roster sheet is one thing, but how it looks to the world is another. And right now, it looks like Cleveland has the most electric rookie in football and is terrified to let him touch the ball. That contradiction is what has turned a routine quarterback competition into a national talking point. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another young player. He's a cultural headline. His college tape wasn't just highlights, It was a viral feed. His name pulls cameras. His presence sells tickets. And his swagger makes even neutral fans want to tune in. When you draft a player like that, you're not just getting a quarterback. You're inheriting an event. And yet Cleveland has treated that event like it belongs in storage, only rolled out for media day quotes and social media photos. The result? A PR nightmare. The problem escalated when TV analysts took the debate public. One fiery commentator unloaded on Sanders, questioning his readiness and even his demeanor, while rumors suggest some inside the league believe his confidence rubs veterans the wrong way. Within hours, Sanders' mother clapped back on Instagram, defending her son and adding gasoline to the... Now, it wasn't just a roster debate. It was a spectacle, the kind of drama that mainstream sports outlets feast on. To fans, the optics are crystal clear. If Sanders was worth drafting, he's worth playing. Every snap Flacco misses, every errant throw Gabriel makes, the camera inevitably pans to Sanders on the sideline, helmet in hand, chin tucked, looking like a Ferrari parked in the garage while the team insists on riding the family minivan. Coaches say this is strategy, but to the outside world, it feels like sabotage. And that's the danger of optics. Perception can shape reality. The more Cleveland downplays Sanders, the more it looks like they're either scared of his spotlight or blind to what he offers. Neither explanation wins fans. Neither builds trust. And neither keeps this story quiet. Because the truth is, the more the Browns try to hide Sanders, the louder the spotlight gets. And soon, that noise will force its way onto the field. Step back from the noise, the hashtags, and the boiling frustration, and you find the one argument that actually makes sense from a coaching perspective: development. Quarterback is unlike any other position in sports. It isn't just about talent. It's about timing, processing, and surviving the speed of the NFL game. Throw a rookie into the fire too soon, and you can do permanent damage. Confidence crumbles, bad habits form, and sometimes careers never recover. That's the caution tape Cleveland is hiding behind. Joe Flacco, for all his flaws, gives them cover. He may be slow, he may look every bit of 40, but he knows protections. He recognizes defensive disguises, and he can line up 10 strangers in the huddle and at least keep the offense functional. Coaches love that kind of predictability because it minimizes chaos, even if the ceiling is painfully low. In their eyes, Flacco is the stabilizer, the safety net that... Then there's Dillon Gabriel. Drafted in the 3rd round, he represents investment. Teams rarely spend that kind of pick without planning to groom the player into something more. His skill set, quick release, clean timing, solid intermediate accuracy, fits neatly into the kind of scripted offense the Browns already run. That makes him an easier fit to plug in early, at least on paper. And finally, Shedeur Sanders. His upside is undeniable. The arm talent, the poise under pressure, the swagger that turns stadiums into theaters, it's all there. But from the staff's vantage point, dropping him into the current offensive turbulence could feel reckless. The line hasn't been perfect. The play calling has been questioned. And the Browns may fear throwing Sanders into that storm before the structure is strong enough to protect him. So yes, the football case for patience exists. It's logical, it's cautious, and it's the oldest play in the coaching handbook. But logic doesn't sell tickets. Caution doesn't fill stadiums. And at some point, the safe choice risks becoming the very reason this offense never evolves. And the fans aren't in the mood for logic. They want life. If you want to understand how deep this quarterback controversy cuts, you don't need a press conference or a stat sheet. Just open your phone. The frustration in Cleveland has spilled out of the bleachers and flooded every corner of the internet. Fans aren't just disappointed, they're enraged. Every Sunday, Twitter fills with memes roasting the Browns' offense as drier than the Sahara. Instagram stories mock empty red zone trips, and Facebook groups read like open petitions demanding one thing: play Shedeur. It's not just noise, it's movement. Whole sections of fans are reportedly threatening boycotts, swearing they'd rather waste 3 hours mowing the lawn than sit through another Joe Flacco checkdown marathon. Others are preparing homemade signs and giant cutouts of Shedeur's face, ready to chant his name louder than the national anthem. Even the jokes sting with venom. One post went viral comparing Cleveland's play calling to watching paint dry, if the paint was beige and peeling. Another said his grandmother's bridge club could design a better offense. Harsh? Absolutely. But that's the mood. And what's worse for the Browns? This outrage isn't just local. National shows are covering it. Debate tables on ESPN and FS1 are dissecting the Shedeur saga daily, amplifying the fury and painting the Browns as either clueless or stubborn. Suddenly, Cleveland isn't just losing fan patience. They're losing face in front of the entire league. That's the dangerous part of this revolt. Fans are no longer asking nicely. They're demanding change, framing the benching of Sanders as not just a football decision. The chants aren't whispers anymore. They're roars echoing through stadiums, timelines, and radio airwaves. This isn't a passing tantrum. It's an uprising, fueled by years of heartbreak, and now sharpened into one rallying cry: unleash Shedeur! And if the Browns don't answer soon, the revolt could turn into something far more damaging than booze. It could become apathy. And in sports, apathy is death. But upstairs in the front office, there's another battle being fought. One that has less to do with heart and more to do with politics. Behind every In the NFL, higher picks get longer leashes and more opportunities, if only because admitting a mistake so soon would be an indictment of the scouting process. Gabriel is the safe next man up because the Browns already spent real capital on him. Then there's Joe Flacco. The team didn't just bring him back for nostalgia. They gave him a one-year deal worth millions. That kind of contract doesn't scream mentor only. It means the organization expected him to play, to steady the ship, and to justify the money spent. Benching him after a few bad weeks would be an admission that the plan was flawed from the start. For a front office obsessed with stability after years of chaos, that's a bitter pill to swallow. Shedeur Sanders, by contrast, came in as the so-called bonus pick, a fifth-round gamble with sky-high upside. On paper, he's the low-risk, high-reward lottery ticket. But here's the catch. The moment Sanders touches the field, the clock starts. If he plays well, the coaching staff must build around him immediately, abandoning other plans. If he struggles, critics will claim the Browns botched yet another quarterback decision. Either way, the front office loses the protective cover of development. That's the bet they're making now. Keep Gabriel in line to validate the draft board. Keep Flacco in the huddle to justify the paycheck. And keep Sanders on the sidelines until the timing feels perfect. It's cautious, calculated, and deeply political. But it also risks becoming self-sabotage. Fans don't care about sunk costs or draft slots. They care about wins and hope. And every week Sanders doesn't play, The Browns look more like a franchise protecting pride instead of chasing progress. This isn't just strategy, it's survival for the front office. But while the suits upstairs juggle investments and optics, the media outside is pouring gasoline on the fire. If the fan revolt is a wildfire, the media has been the wind turning sparks into an inferno. National debate shows can't get enough of the Shedeur Sanders saga. ESPN panels, radio call-ins, and viral YouTube clips replay the same question with rising urgency. How can the Browns draft one of the most marketable rookies in the country and then chain him to the bench? Every segment, every soundbite, every hot take piles more pressure onto Cleveland's shoulders. The narrative shifted into overdrive when a fiery analyst ripped Sanders on live TV, questioning his readiness and even his attitude. Within hours, Shedeur's mother, Pilar, clapped back on Instagram, defending her son and igniting a storm of reposts and think pieces. Suddenly, this wasn't just a roster debate. It was a cultural flashpoint, the kind of storyline that sports media thrives on. Sanders wasn't just a prospect anymore, and the coverage hasn't stayed neutral. Some insiders insist that reports claim Cleveland prefers Dillon Gabriel because of draft capital and system fit, framing Sanders as the odd man out. Others counter that his charisma and talent are too magnetic to ignore, painting the Browns as blind to their own golden ticket. Every side of the argument gets airtime, and each broadcast adds more fuel to the firestorm. For the Browns, this attention is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's relevance. A team once treated like background noise has become a headline fixture. On the other, it's toxic pressure. Every time Flacco underthrows a receiver or Gabriel stalls a drive, producers cut straight to the same image. Shedeur on the sidelines, helmet dangling, eyes focused, but body language screaming frustration. That shot is worth more than any stat line. It's the picture of wasted potential. And that's the gasoline the media keeps pouring. Each highlight reel without Sanders feels incomplete. Each debate show more damning. Cleveland may want to control the pace of his development, but in the court of public opinion, patience is no longer an option. Which leads to the crossroads. What happens if they unleash Sanders now, or keep doubling down on safe? The Browns are standing at a crossroads, and both paths carry risk. On one side lies the bold choice. Hand Shedeur Sanders the football and let him prove what everyone suspects, that he can electrify an offense desperate for a heartbeat. On the other side sits the safer option. Keep Joe Flacco in the huddle, groom Dillon Gabriel as the future, and let Sanders wait his turn. Neither path guarantees victory, but each defines the franchise in a very different way. Scenario A, unleash Shedeur. If the Browns give him real snaps, fans would believe again. The locker room would feel energized, and national coverage would pivot from ridicule to awe. But there's danger too. If Sanders struggles, critics will call him overhyped, and the Browns will be accused of rushing their prized rookie into the fire. It's the gamble of betting big early. You either cash in or walk away bruised. Scenario B, stay the course. The staff could cling to Flacco's experience and Gabriel's draft pedigree, insisting the plan is patience and stability. On paper, it's logical. Avoid crushing a rookie's confidence, keep the scheme predictable, and buy time for growth. But every passing week fuels more boos, more memes, and more distrust from fans who see caution as cowardice. If the team keeps losing, or even winning ugly, the anger will only escalate, making Sanders' eventual debut feel less like excitement and more like damage control. Rumors suggest the Browns are leaning toward patience, keeping Sanders sidelined until late in the season, unless injuries force their hand. But patience is running thin outside the building. Every play without him looks like wasted time, Every headline screams missed opportunity. That's the fork in the road. Ignite the season with risk or protect the plan at the cost of belief. And in a league where windows slam shut faster than anyone admits, Cleveland has to decide which loss hurts more, the pain of growing pains or the pain of regret. Because the longer they stall, the more this controversy begins to define them. Cleveland's current strategy is built on one word: safe. Safe means letting the 40-year-old veteran handle the offense, even if the spark is gone. Safe means giving more reps to the third-round rookie. Because draft capital buys opportunity. Safe means keeping Shedeur Sanders, the headline, the buzz, the fan favorite, sitting on the sideline, helmet in hand, waiting for a chance that never comes. On paper, safe looks like patience, but in reality, safe comes with a heavy price. That price is momentum. Every week Sanders doesn't play is another week fans feel ignored. Another week the stadium buzz dies down. Another week the Browns lose the chance to turn raw frustration into genuine belief. Fans didn't buy tickets to watch endless checkdowns and 3-and-outs. They came for fireworks, and the one player capable of delivering them hasn't been unwrapped. Each time the camera cuts to Sanders on the sideline, it's not just an image. It's a symbol of wasted potential. Safe also costs identity. The Browns haven't been known as innovators, but for the first time in years, they landed a player who could redefine what this franchise stands for. Sanders brings charisma, attention, and the kind of cultural pull that makes casual fans care. By keeping him locked away, the Browns risk sending the opposite message, that they'd rather protect their own decisions than chase greatness. That's not development. That's self-preservation disguised as strategy. And finally, safe costs time. NFL windows are short. Locker rooms shift, contracts expire, and once-in-a-generation energy fades if you don't capitalize on it. Sanders won't wait forever. Neither will the fan base. If Cleveland keeps stalling, they could wake up to find the spotlight gone, the crowd silent, and their rookie phenom shining in another jersey. So yes, safe avoids short-term embarrassment, but the real danger is that it builds long-term regret. In sports, playing not to lose almost always ends in losing anyway. Cleveland has to decide. Because sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing safe. Cleveland walked into this season with the rarest gift in sports: hope. Not just hope built on blind loyalty, but hope rooted in a player who could actually change everything. Shedeur Sanders didn't arrive quietly. He brought a storm of energy, attention, and belief that made the Browns matter in ways they hadn't in years. And yet, instead of embracing that momentum, the franchise has chosen hesitation. Joe Flacco still leads the huddle. Dillon Gabriel still takes the developmental reps. And Sanders, the one man who could electrify the field and silence the boos, continues to wait. That decision might look safe inside team offices, but outside, it feels like betrayal. Fans aren't blind to the logic of easing in a rookie, but they also know when potential is being wasted. They see Flacco's limitations. They see Gabriel's learning curve. And they see Sanders standing ready, only to be treated like an afterthought. It isn't just frustrating, it's demoralizing. The stadium isn't filled with chants of "Go Browns" anymore. It's filled with demands, with questions, with the sound of a fan base begging for belief. The danger here is bigger than a few ugly drives. It's about identity. Cleveland has been defined for decades by heartbreak, false starts, and missed opportunities. Sanders represented the chance to rewrite that story, to turn the Browns into something more than a punchline. By keeping him on the sideline, the organization risks confirming the darkest narrative, that even when handed something special, they'll find a way to squander it. Every week that passes without Sanders taking the field isn't just a delay, it's a decision. And those decisions are shaping the Browns' future in ways no depth chart can measure. They can choose to stay safe, protect their pride, and hope fans stay patient. Or they can take the leap, trust the spark, and finally give their city the show it deserves. Because in the end, wins fade, stats blur, and seasons are forgotten. But moments last forever. And right now, Cleveland is sitting on the moment that could define a generation. The only question is whether they'll be brave enough to let it happen.